This is a welcome to our gorgeous university. This is our agenda. We've just completed most of the welcome, although Tim and I will say the briefest of introductions of ourselves. Then we're going to talk about program origins, the structure, the tuition, and then questions. And I will just be here to welcome and do the origins, and then I'll be back at the end for Q&A, and I'll be listening to Tim's guidance in the middle because he is our fearless leader. I'm Seth Green. I don't think I formally said I'm the dean here at the Graham School. I am so proud of the Master of Liberal Arts. I see this as a genuine jewel, not just of our school, but of the university. I am so inspired by people that want to look across all disciplines and that want to dive deep because they believe in the importance of knowledge and in discovery. And I think one of the hallmarks of this degree is that you're not training for a very specific outcome, but you are training to be a deeper thinker, a better communicator, and a better citizen. And I think that is ultimately the aim of education. That's a little bit about me and my passion for the Master of Liberal Arts. I've been dean for what will be 4 years on July 1st, and this program continues to wow me in every way. And Tim, do you want to share the briefest of who you are? At least the 95 graduates preceded you here, so they may not be familiar.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. It's good to see so many familiar faces, and also excited to see some names that are new to me from before my tenure. But my name is Tim Murphy. I'm the director of the MLA program. I've been with the Graham School since the fall of 2015, which stings just a little bit to say, but that longevity is reflective of me sharing the passion that's already been expressed here so eloquently by others tonight. And I'm very excited about this new program and to dive into some of the details here in a couple minutes.
Wonderful. So with that, we'll go to the program origin slide. And this has already been referenced a little bit, but there are really two rationales behind this new fellowship. The first is that we convened a MLA advisory group about a year ago to start thinking about how we deepen the MLA experience. And through that advisory, as well as through a lot of anecdotal conversations. So, at graduation each year, people saying, I really want to figure out what the next rung of this journey looks like. We have had a strong sense for some time that there is a desire to go deeper. And we did actually at numerous points look at a PhD option, and we can talk about why that is not ultimately something that we felt was the right answer. But we really felt that going deeper and having some kind of opportunity for people to add to the edifice of knowledge, which is a great desire, was something that we really wanted to make possible. We also, as a school, have benefited from individuals who go through a journey like this and then decide they want to go deeper. And we've seen how generative that can be. In particular, we have something called the Basic Program of Liberal Education, which some of you even referenced, you've been a part of, where you read great books. And then at the end of that series over 4 years, you can then pick up these alumni sequences where you go into the Romans or the American traditions or now the East Asian classics. And so we've had this experience where we've seen into the value of going deeper, because what happens in those programs is that people start on, for example, the Roman texts, but everyone in the classroom already has this foundational knowledge. And so as they're reading these new texts, they're referencing all of these texts from their original 4-year experience. So we heard from MLA alums, they want to go deeper. We have experience as a school seeing the value of creating that opportunity for people to keep ramping up to that next level of knowledge. And then a really exciting thing happened 2 years ago. We began a fellowship. And there was a very intentional reason that we called this Leadership in Society initiative a fellowship. And that was we saw these individuals coming to campus. And in this case, they were finishing their careers and they were thinking about their next chapters. And Mark McWaters is actually one of these fellows. Mark knows this well. They were viewed both as students and as really important contributors to the intellectual landscape, that they were both generators and contributors as well as students. And what we saw in that fellowship was a new relationship where they had a project that they were really focused on for the year that they're here on campus. And what we were doing is organizing intellectual resources around them to help them to complete their project. And basically, when we started talking about what did we learn from this, we realized that there's really a great opportunity for us in other domains of the Graham School to create this type of space where someone has a project that they'd like to work on and a edifice of knowledge that they may want to contribute, and they want a scaffolding around it. An LSI is specifically for people who want to design an ambitious next chapter for society as kind of an encore career. And what we realized was that there's also a group, and we thought of our MLA alums immediately, that really wants to take a next chapter of meaningful discovery and contribution of knowledge to the liberal arts. And so that's a long way of getting to the point, which is that what we envision for this fellowship is an opportunity for MLA alums who have something they want to investigate and add to the edifice of knowledge to now have a scaffolding and structure to be part of the university, to go deeper in coursework and with a faculty advisor that allows them to investigate that topic, and then to use time and resources here to actually write a paper or a presentation that would be part of a significant academic contribution. So that's the big idea. And the reason we call it the Liberal Arts Fellowship is to designate that you are beyond just your student years and you are really in a place where you're still learning and you're simultaneously in a place where you are thinking about this really important contribution to knowledge. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tim, who can walk through the actual details, because a lot of my involvement with him has been around how do we envision this, and then he's been the one who's so thoughtfully put into practice what this could potentially look like. Tim?
Thanks, Seth. So I have a couple slides in a few minutes to talk about the structure of the program, and then we'll do tuition and application and the nuts and bolts at the end before the Q&A. So at the outset, I'll just make a high-level point here and say that the structure of this program is designed to be both flexible and personalized, allowing you to customize your coursework to best pursue your specific research interest. I'll provide some more details on each of these components here that you see on your screen in a moment. But as you see, the fellows in this two-year program will complete 3 courses and then execute a capstone project. So there's 4 total course requirements in the fellowship. And like with the MLA, this is designed to be accommodating for your schedule. So it's a 2-year commitment, but you can take quarters off from enrollment if needed and still finish your 4 courses on time. So as you can see here, the first of the 3 courses is an autumn quarter cohort seminar. That'll be the first course that our fellows enroll in. And to accommodate the ever-growing body of MLA alumni who don't live in Chicago, that autumn quarter cohort seminar will meet remotely via Zoom. And following that, fellows will complete 2 elective courses, and those electives can be taken within existing MLA offerings, which are held via Zoom over our 10-week academic quarters. Those local to Chicago or who can be in Chicago frequently enough can take both of their electives can be met with in-person courses taken within the main graduate divisions here on campus. Electives can also be completed via our week-long residential seminar program that we host twice a year on campus, and I'll have more to say on that in a couple minutes. And finally, your elective courses can be met via independent study courses. And we anticipate that many of the fellows will take advantage of this option, especially if there's difficulty finding coursework either in the MLA or in the main graduate divisions that align with your research project. But also because, as we'll see here in a moment, an expectation of this capstone project will include a rigorous and in-depth literature review, sort of summarizing the existing state of your chosen field. And as some of you experienced already doing your MLA theses, an independent study option is a great way to get a jump start on the literature review and familiarize yourself with the scholarship existing state of the scholarship of your field. But as we saw, the first course our fellows will enroll in is designed to be this cohort-based seminar. We're calling it Introduction to Advanced Graduate Research and Writing. This course is designed to sort of be a half writing and research boot camp, sharpening the skills you'll need to execute that capstone. And also half of it will be a cohort workshop, collectively fine-tuning each other's capstone proposals. This course will be taught by our incredible writing advisor, Millie Ray. I'll just make a point here of saying that Millie couldn't be here with us tonight, but for the best possible reason. Yesterday evening, she submitted her final revisions to her PhD dissertation in the sociology department here. And so I'm very thrilled to include those 3 letters PhD next to Millie's name in that first box here. And if you're one of the people on the call who completed your MLA in the last 7 or 8 years, you're already familiar with Millie. But for those of you who graduated longer ago, as the others on the call can attest, Millie is absolutely a phenomenal writing advisor for the MLA program. I've said it a bunch of other times, but the title writing advisor doesn't really begin to scratch the surface of what Millie does for our students. I mean, yes, she's a superb writing advisor, but she's also a valued thought coach and superb cultivator of student projects. So I spoke with Millie a couple of days ago to be able to provide this brief overview of her cohort class. And she's already got a great plan ready to go. So for the introduction to graduate writing aspect of the course, Millie will run some of her incredibly helpful writing exercises that will include both fellows writing in different contexts, but also collective group interrogation of exemplary published pieces that Millie will identify. And in that part of the class, the fellows will collectively dissect those pieces, sort of looking under the hood to see the architecture of the writing and drawing out the various aspects of those pieces that make the writing so effective. And for the introduction to research part of this course, Millie's going to bring in librarians from the Regenstein Library on campus to talk about the various resources available to UChicago grad students at the library, and as well as helping fellows identify where they might aim to have their capstones published or presented at the end of their 2 years. And finally, and equally important, a key component of this class will be producing your capstone proposal. So when you apply to the program, you'll apply with about a 5-page double-space statement of purpose. But the end result of Millie's course will be a more fully fleshed out version of that, a 10 to 15-page proposal. And what Millie told me when we talked about this a few days ago was a benefit to being made to flesh out such a rigorous proposal in such a condensed 10-week period of time for only part of that course. But being made to do that will help reveal blind spots in your plan, or help you discover new aspects of your project that you might want to pursue that you hadn't already considered, but you feel like you need to learn more about. And so this will come in handy when it comes to course selection for future quarters after this first cohort seminar is over. But through all of this, the emphasis for this class will be on the cohort. You'll be working together throughout the entire quarter, but particularly while you're workshopping each other's proposals, exemplifying the colleagueship and the spirit of joint inquiry that some of you spoke about in your introductions that you found so attractive during the course of your MLA studies. So for the capstone project itself, I assume many of you are here because you already have a research project in mind or a creative project in mind, probably one that you've been kicking around for a couple of years now. So rest assured, this entire program, the full 2 years, is designed to provide you with support, structure, and resources to bring that project to fruition. One way we've been framing this program in our internal discussions is that the MLA degree and your studies in the MLA program equipped you with the tools for interdisciplinary inquiry. And this new fellowship is designed to help you leverage those tools in making a substantial scholarly contribution. In fact, making that scholarly contribution is the purpose of the capstone project, to publish your work in an academic journal, another publication, or to be presented at a conference. And what format or what venue you aim to bring your project to when it's all over is something that you'll decide in consultation with your faculty advisor. The precise structure and timing of this project will look different for each student, just like the individual topics are going to vary pretty widely. But a fair way of thinking about the overall structure and approach to this is to consider your first year in the fellowship as taking classes in preparation for the capstone, and the entire second year. I lost my earpiece. You believe that? But I'm back. And so the second year will be executing that capstone project. And Seth mentioned in his earlier framing, the Leadership and Society program served as the original impetus behind this new fellowship program. And I think that's a great example for a couple reasons. In LSI, they take accomplished executives nearing a transition point into their next chapter of life who are ready to tackle a big societal problem matched with the intellectual assets of the university. And in this liberal arts fellowship, we're going to do a similar thing, taking MLA alumni who are eager to make a substantial contribution to their chosen field, and likewise connect them to the university's incredible assets to help make them that contribution. And of course, among the university's most prized intellectual assets are our faculty. And as opposed to the MLA experience when you were paired with a faculty advisor at the end to supervise your thesis project, in the fellowship, you will be paired with a faculty advisor at the point of admission, who will serve as your advisor throughout. So they'll be able to advise you throughout the 2 years to discuss how your thinking is evolving on your topic, steering you towards relevant coursework, helping design an independent study if that's an option you're going to pursue, and then of course ultimately supervising your capstone project. I'm just going to say a quick word here before discussing the application about the MLA residential seminar program. This is something we began in 2022, so some alumni here may be unfamiliar with it. But in essence, instead of getting a full MLA course credit by taking 30 hours over the course of 10 weeks, in the residential seminar format, you get a full course credit in 5 days on campus. You're in class every day, a 3-hour session in the morning, you break for lunch and have a 3-hour session in the afternoon. So 6 hours a day over the 5 days, you get the full 30 contact hours. And in addition to class time, the seminars also include extracurricular activities. So for example, this upcoming August, David Ray, an MLA professor and professor in UChicago's classics department, he's leading a residential seminar for us on Homer's Iliad. And in addition to the class time, there'll be arranged a trip to the Regenstein's Homer collection. And in addition to that, one of the days they'll be going to the campus's Institute for the Study of Ancient Cultures to see some of their Hellenic holdings there. So we normally organize these twice a year in May and in August, though some years we've also done a third in September. And prior topics have run sort of the entire interdisciplinary gauntlet. We've done philosophy and literature, bioethics, and leadership in the past. And I'm mentioning all of this because fellows in this program can complete one of their electives via the in-person residential seminar format. So my last few bits here before we get to the Q&A is to talk about application and tuition. So as you see here, the autumn quarter will begin September 29th, and the deadline to apply to this fellowship is September 3rd. You are, however, encouraged to apply sooner because we're doing rolling admissions. And moreover, we're aiming to keep this inaugural autumn cohort small. We're envisioning somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 fellows for the first year, which is an extra incentive to get your application in early if possible. And unlike in the MLA where we admit year round, we're only admitting fellows to begin in the autumn term, at least for this first year. So if you want to apply, you can do so via our online application portal, the link to which can be found on the fellowship landing page on our website, but we'll also be sure to include a link to it in the follow-up email we'll send out after this info session. So as an initial matter, as we've saw a little bit ago, the application is limited to graduates of UChicago's MLA program, and moreover, limited to graduates who finish the program with a minimum GPA of 3.5. The most important aspect of the application will be the statement of purpose. That'll be roughly 5 double-spaced pages in which you describe your research project. And because, like I said, the entire fellowship is tailored toward helping you execute the capstone, we'll want to make sure that you have some sense of what you want to investigate in addition to some sense of the how and why you'll do it. In other words, we're making sure that you have a solid research plan in mind when you apply. And of course, we say that understanding that these projects and your proposals will evolve, particularly when you begin meeting with your advisor and complete Millie's autumn quarter class. And also because the faculty advisor is going to play such a prominent role in the fellowship experience, we're also asking that the statement of purpose include up to 3 potential advisors you might want to work with. But we say that, and we'll also say that it's okay if you have a product idea in mind, but no particular faculty member that you may want to work with. We can certainly help you identify one. One letter of recommendation, the application will ask for one letter of rec written by an MLA faculty member, but some of you who completed the MLA long enough ago such that none of the faculty you studied under are still teaching in the program. In that case, you can contact me and we'll discuss alternative options for you. For transcripts, if you've earned other degrees post MLA and with lifelong learners, that's not uncommon, I suppose. We'll need to see copies of those post-MLA transcripts along with this application. But for all your pre-MLA transcripts, our office should have copies of those on file. But please do make a point of checking with us prior to submitting the application so we can confirm that we have your prior transcripts still on file here. The application is also going to ask for an updated copy of your resume. Application fee is going to be waived for all of our fellows. In the application portal, there's a section for fee waiver requests, and one of the options you can select is being an alum of UChicago, and of course, that's all of you here. And the final application requirement is an interview with our office, and we'll reach out to schedule that after you submit your completed application. Finally, tuition and fees. Like in the MLA, you will pay tuition on a per enrollment basis. Our tuition per course for the upcoming 25-26 academic year is $4,325. So doing the math times 4 required courses puts the course tuition at just over $17,000. But there's also now an annual program fee of $2,000 that'll be assessed during the first quarter of every year. So total tuition and fees spread over 2 years is $21,300. With the asterisk there denoting that this is based on 25-26 tuition rates, and they're subject for moderate increases year after year. And like with the MLA program, there are limited financial aid scholarships available for fellows who wanted to do this program with us. So with that, I'm going to take a much needed water break and turn things back over to Seth for the Q&A.
Great. So we have come to questions. I'll just make 2 additional notes to what Tim mentioned. The first is that I want to be very clear that our ambition is for you to have a research question that really excites you, and to go into why that excites you and how you could imagine potentially investigating it. We want to be equally clear that the point of the 2 years is for you to figure out how to understand that question, how to analyze it, to work with a faculty advisor to go deeper. So, just so you know, for your statement of purpose, you are not expected to have all of the answers. I think our most important goal is for you to have a clear set of questions and a sense of how you might approach it, just so you have a sense of what we're aiming toward. And then the other thing I want to note is that in terms of faculty members that you might say, these are 3 people that I might want to work with. On the MLA website, we have the people that currently teach with the MLA. That should not limit you. Anyone at the university should be within your sites. And for LSI, there's also a faculty advisor, and we have found a very high level of receptivity when we go to them and someone has a clear project. and we reach out and say, would you be open? Here's the structure. So I say that just to say that certainly if they're already teaching with the MLA, the chance of them being willing to take it on may be even higher. But as you think about who you might want to work with, don't limit yourself to only proposing people on our MLA website. Look at the entire university website and think expansively. And again, we will then see what's possible, but we might as well start with your dream team and then come back to you, with what's possible rather than be limited from the start, if that makes sense. With that, we really do want to hear your questions and have a conversation with you. So there's three ways that you can put your questions out there. You can just unmute and start in. You can press on your React tab and press raise hand. If you press on React, you'll see it comes up and you can raise your hand. And then you can chat in your question if that's preferable. So what do you want to know? Yeah, go for it, Rosemary. And you used a fourth option. You used your real hand.
I did. I did. My question is regarding the number of fellows for the first year. Did you say that there would only be 5 or 7?
You know, we are keeping it intimate in year one because we want to make sure that we are successful. And part of that is making sure, we can really be high touch, get people the advisors they want, make sure if you want to get into an elective anywhere on campus that, we're able to do that. We anticipate this could grow gradually as we look to future years. But year one, we just, we do want to have a good number of people. And so we hope to be as inclusive as possible, but we wanted to make sure that we had the capacity to support each fellow with excellence and care. So that's the number that we're targeting at this moment. And we've been obviously very pleased, and this room is full of wonderful people to see, interest in the program. We also may, depending on and this thing that we're looking at, offer, advanced, if we get to a place where we, do have incredible candidacies and fill up quickly, we would look to potentially admit people, but potentially defer them for a year so that they could, so don't feel that if you apply now and it's crowded, it means that we have to say no, but it might be that we offer you a starting place in the 26-27 academic year start, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rosemary. Mona.
I had a question about the advisor. So in MLA, we had our thesis advisor, and I'm just wondering what that relationship might look like in this fellowship program, if it will be similar, it will be more contact, more formalized, just anything you might be able to share about that.
Yeah, Tim, I'll let you speak first, but I'm happy to add.
So the advisor will do the capstone advising, so similar to the MLA experience, but we're also envisioning the person being available for something like office hours during pre-capstone to talk about. I mean, they'll be involved at the point of admission too, like when we get the statements of purpose and saying, I think I might want to work with this person, this faculty member. We'll loop them in at that point. And so by the time the fellows are admitted, the faculty advisor will already be aware of who they are and what their project is and can start advising earlier on in terms of which courses might be most conducive for the project, and helping design independent studies if that's needed. And then also just at a bare minimum quarterly check-ins to talk about how the thinking's evolved, ramping up toward the capstone.
Thank
And
you.
I'll share, Mona, that in VLSI advising that we see into, there's the quarterly as a minimum. There are fellows who really have organized their questions and have a lot of asks for their faculty, and most of them have great experiences. I think that what we see is that, faculty want to see you putting in the time to, when you come in for those meetings, really make use of it and have a lot of questions for them and take their guidance. But we find a very great level of excitement from faculty when there's that initiative. So, we've kind of set up in that system as a quarterly check-in as the minimum, but then there are very driven fellows who have a lot of questions. And, in this case, you may really want to get into a journal, you may really want to get into a presentation at an academic conference, and where you're driving and coming in with questions, I think there's a very high level of receptivity, if that's helpful.
It's great to know. Thank you very much.
Other questions? Yes, time commitment, you could guess a person might have to commit. So I don't know if you see this in the chat, Tim, in terms of time commitment to complete the fellowship. I mean, I think there's the two parts of it. Each class, I often have told, and I hope this is right, you're the person, Tim, but I've said that, it's 30 hours that you're in the class in terms of instruction, and it's at least another 30 hours that you're typically reading and writing for the class. So, I've always, kind of framed it as, for a quarter where you're taking a class, you're talking about, a 60-hour commitment. So, during the 10 weeks of the academic quarter, that's 6 hours per week. That is for those 3 courses. Then for the project, I think you might assume that it's probably similar to 3 courses. So, you're thinking probably about another 180 hours. I mean, again, Tim, jump in here, but that's at least when we talked about it earlier, we thought about it that way. So during, again, the, 2 years now, 3 quarters, during those 10-week quarters, you're thinking about 6 hours a week. So I think something in that mindset would make sense. Obviously, for people that want to get all the way to a major academic journal and publish something meaningful, it might be more than that. For people that are thinking about, a presentation that might be meaningful, but not necessarily contributing entirely new knowledge, it might be less than that. But I think that might be a good kind of gauge if that resonates. Beth.
For the MLA thesis, I think we were, the ballpark length was like 40 to 60 pages. Can you help us gauge that for this program?
Yeah, this is something I had talked to Millie about, and one of the things that she had said about the proposal workshopping aspect of her class is she's going to help the students begin to think in the very beginning the venue that they might want to get published, an aspirational venue. And so different journals are going to have different length requirements. If that's the route it's going to go, different journals will have different length requirements. And so part of the discovery in Millie's class is going to be figuring out what the ideal end product looks like, where it will go, and then that'll help drive what the length and other structure aspects of it will look like as well. So it'll vary from project to project. It's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, I have a question. There are 2 elective courses required, and then there are 2 required courses. Is that correct? And then I was wondering what those required courses would be about.
Yes, there's only one required course at the outset, and I'll let Tim talk about what that looks like. And then the other course that everyone's doing is your capstone, but you're doing that in your own way. And then it's 2 electives, 2 courses that you're taking anywhere, whether it's the MLA catalog if you're online, or if you are in the Chicago area, then you have the expansiveness of any of the courses at the university. Tim, do you want to talk about Millie's seminar that will be a required starting place?
Yeah, so in the first quarter in the autumn, the cohort, the fellows will be enrolled in this cohort seminar together. We're calling it Introduction to Advanced Graduate Research and Writing, both designed to help sharpen writing and research skills, and then also taking the statement of purpose that the students applied with and fleshing it out into a more formal capstone proposal to be executed at the end of the program.
Tim, it might be helpful. May I?
Yeah, please, Mark.
So, hearing Millie's name a lot, and Tim knows that So how I feel about her. The there's always a trepidation on all of us, I think, about a paper at the University of Chicago. It's like, oh my goodness, what? Millie, uh, Millie makes you feel like actually you can do it, and truth is you can, and I'm the test dummy on that. I mean, so she really does make. I don't think about this worrying about a paper because I know the coach you have to do it.
Thank you, Mark. We have a question about scholarships and financial assistance, and those are on a case-by-case basis. And so we generally will speak with you individually about those possibilities. We have some philanthropic resources for the Master of Liberal Arts. And so we use that across, both the existing MLA degree and now for this as well. The fees themselves within the program are not eligible, so it's within the course tuition that some scholarship is possible. Larry, I see your hand. Go for it. Oh, and you're on mute.
Thanks, Seth. Just wanted to follow up a little bit, an additional question regarding the elective courses. So did I understand correctly that it's basically these courses are any course that's available through the University of Chicago, whether it's the MLA or any other course, the undergraduate courses, graduate courses?
Well, so I should be specific in saying that you can look across the catalog at what interests you and that you'd like to take. And then we reach out to the faculty member, and that faculty member, one, would make sure that they don't have prerequisites that would be necessary. And so, for example, if you wanted to take astrophysics and it required advanced quantitative math, and you don't have that advanced quantitative math, then you wouldn't be eligible. The other, context is that the faculty member needs to be supportive of a student who is a student at large coming into that class. So, so there's not 100% success, but we do have a high level of success, and that is the structure for LSI. Now, in LSI, they do it as an auditor. In this case, it would be as a enrolled student. And I'll just mention that one thing that enables this is that within Graham, for those who may not do this program, but may be interested in courses at large, we have something called a graduate student at large program, where people can apply to take classes across the university for credit. So Tim and there's a partner internally within the Graham School, Esther Pandian-Risque, who runs that program. They will work together to help you navigate and then get into the classes that you're interested in. So yes, it could be in Booth, it could be in Harris. Again, it has to have your eligible and faculty approval, but we do find that to be possible much of the time. So what happens in LSI, for example, in a different context, they may be interested in a very specific next chapter journey. So a woman who just finished the program wants to address women's health inequities. She took some classes in the biological sciences division around women's health. And then her particular focus is on an impact investment fund in women's health. So she also took courses in Booth around venture capital. So that's one example. But in this case, it would be for your research project, but you would look for classes that might relate to the research and then be able to enroll in them if that's helpful.
Very good. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions that you may have? So we did get a question from Marty. So I don't think that this advanced fellowship we've thought of as developing skills for one's career. I think we've thought of this more about continuing your intellectual journey, adding to knowledge. We do think of the core MLA degree as kind of sharpening your communication skills, building leadership skills, In some sense, this obviously has some of those impacts as well, because the liberal arts are generative in nature and build on your fluid thinking. But we haven't framed this liberal arts fellowship in terms of career navigation or development, and don't see that as a core intentional part, even though we are passionate believers that the liberal arts enrich everything you do, including potentially your career journeys. So in terms of Argonne, that's something that we could look into. Argonne is in a relationship with the university. It's a managed lab. There are some complexities there, so we should follow up with that person, Jane, directly. Tim, maybe you can follow up with Jane on that front. We certainly have a lot of crossover, though, because it is a lab managed by the university, but it doesn't have like the same access points that we would have into classes or direct faculty of the university.
Yeah, I would just add both for Argonne or other university affiliated labs, or another word for a broader umbrella than labs, is that faculty, University of Chicago professors work at them and manage them, and if that's the case, that could be the entry point if you're working with a faculty member who's affiliated with one of those labs. So, for example, I know Markini was in Michael Turner's class right before COVID. Professor Turner was the former, I don't know what his title was there, but he was high up at Argonne, and he brought them for a tour of something there. So there's potentialities like that, but it would, for course credit, it would have to be faculty driven. So we'd have to have the faculty entry point to any of those resources.
And then there's a question about how often the cohort seminar meets, and I believe, Tim, it's once a week during the academic quarter.
Yeah, it's designed to be a full MLA credit bearing course, so it'll meet once a week for 3 hours, one evening a week.
Any other questions? Well, I will just close with this note that one of the things that I think is so fun about the Graham School is that our students often compete based on how many years they've been a part of the school. And so, I joke with my fellow deans because in their schools, people are often competing over who gets out faster. Like I went through the college in 3.5 years, or I went through my MBA and my JD together in 4 years. And I always joke, what's going on at your schools that people want to leave so quickly? At Graham, people say, I started in the 1990s and I'm still here, and I'm going on my 30th year. And so I do think it's a very special aspect of our school that people really love learning. They believe passionately in its value and they want to keep going. And I think that striving is one of the things that makes this community so special. So thank you for even investigating this. We are thrilled to see such interest, and we look forward to following up with you around any individual questions you may have, and hopefully to seeing some of you as liberal arts fellows at the university in the academic year ahead. Thank you again. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Tim, for the vision behind this, and Callie for so much of the operations behind it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.